already completed last time pa, is the marking of plans. I-reiterate ko lang. So I added 4 slides here on how do we identify things in plan. So now, by marking kasi, 'di ba? As you could observe with the plans that I ask you to secure. 'Di ba meron tayong mga um meron tayong mga schedule. So this is something to do with the schedule. Let me just open a sample ano, plan. Okay, so this is something to do with the schedule. So ang dinagdag ko dito sa ano is that on how we mark, although I think I already mentioned this one before, pero just to be clear lang, that whenever we mark a certain beam or certain column, so meron tayong identifier. So there are several variations of this basic system or kung paano natin pine-present yung ating um, information with regards to the beams, columns, slab, and so on. So firstly is we the the um the one that's doing the design might use the grid system. So basically, whenever they are using grid system, so they identify the beam, okay, based from the grid system. For example, um ito. So ayan. So for example, if they want to pangit naman ito example. Tawag to. So, if they want to identify a certain beam, for example, this one, although this one is the example to. This is under Pismark system. For the grade system kasi, just identified based sa grade. For example, if it's under grade 6, and then it is bounded by grade A to B. So, along grade 6, that's A to C pala, rather. A to C. Okay, so you are um, identifying this beam. Meron kasing mga plans, not sure if some of you have that one, wherein each beam has its own sizes, has its own um, bar requirements or rebar requirements. So hindi siya typically or hindi siya pare-pareho across the entire plan. Like this one, ito kasi pare-pareho. So, pero just imagine that whenever you are using the grid system where you are considering this entire grade, let's say grade 6, and then it's under grade 6 it is at from grade A to grade C. So it means that you are identifying this beam. And then let's say pag sinabi mong grade A from grade 3 to 4, so grade 3 to 5, so grade A, so from grade 3 to 5, so you are identifying this beam. So basically ganon. Okay, or sometimes yon aside from that one, okay, so we have the sequential system. So basically, ito naman yung pagkakasunod-sunod ng ano natin, ng system. Like for example, if you are dealing with the column, okay, so for the column, sabi plan. So just imagine, for example, for column 1C1, so you sequence it by this point, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So ano siya, naka-sequence siya by location. Pero yun, hindi lang natin siya makikita dito as an example kasi this one is using the Bismarck or ano kasi 'di ba, as being defined here. Okay, many members of a structure are similar. So meaning there are similarities with the requirements of each beams. That's why we are only identifying one tag. For example, this one for the roof beam RB. So lahat sila iisa lang pag chinek nyo yung ating section ay yung ating typical details or the schedule. Like for example, this one for the second floor framing, We identify the beams as B1. Okay, so madaming B1, it means halos lahat sila is ganito yung itsura ng cross-section. On the other hand, may B2 ba dito? Wala. CB1. Ito, CB1. So, ganito yung itsura ng CB1. So, what I'm trying to say here is that etong type naman na ito na piece mark, so we identify the information of the beam, okay, based on its markings, and then most likely or most of the time, the markings na inilalagay natin for each beam are similar with the other locations as well. Okay. Then yun, ang kinagandahan sa Pismark na normally yun din yung ginagamit na na pang-tag for the beams is that it is simpler, nakasimplified siya na across the entire structure, lalo kung maliitan lang naman. Hindi na mahirap pang mag-fabricate or hindi na mahirap pang i-identify isa-isa. Kumbaga, kunwari sa isang grid na to, ito pare-pareho lang naman sila, so pare-pareho lang ng ilalatag na bakal. On the other hand naman, kasi yung other systems, ang kinagandahan naman doon is that accurate, somewhat siya, medyo economical in a sense, kasi yun talaga yung requirement natin doon sa for each beam. So hindi tayo sumusobra. Pagka ginagawa kasi natin ganito, class, yung number of bars that are required for the entire beam, minsan hindi naman din talaga siya yung required beam sa other portion. For example lang, let's say etong side na to, tong B1 ganito. Let's say pagdating dito sa dulo, ang kailangan lang pala tig-apat na bakal on both corners. So ibig sabihin, if you would apply this entire B1, so pagdating sa dulo dito, may sobra kang bakal. Okay? So hindi siya required, pero inisa mo na lang to simplify. Pero yun, doon sa mga naka-grid type, since pa isa-isa naman yung pagkaka-identify ng beams, so what happened there is that kung pagdating dito sa dulo na to is apat lang ang bakal na kailangan natin. So apat lang talaga ang ilalagay. So it lessens the requirement. Yun nga lang, it makes it tedious, tapos matrabahong gawin. Okay, so at saka yun, matrabahong gawin sa design dahil may extra effort ka dyan. And at the same time, minsan humahaba yung schedule natin. So, yun. It's a matter of if you are the structural engineer, kung if you think you can just simplify it o wala namang problema, or if you want to keep it as is, so wala din problema. Okay, so wala namang mali as long as that the requirement for each beams would pass the requirements based on your calculations. Kung magdadagdag, kumbaga magiging somehow over design, pero kung wag lang mababawasan. Okay? So yun lang yung I want to emphasize with this slide na hindi ko nabanggit last time. And then let's go with the other slide for the module for the details of reinforcement. So dito pag-uusapan natin yung may kinalaman sa bakal o yung pagkakabend. Para mas maintindihan natin, ano ba yung mga nakikita nyo dyan sa detail. Okay, so para kapag kinonstruct nyo or kinad nyo yung mga details, makikita nyo kung yung yung plan na meron kayo is kinad ba ng maayos or not. Okay, so unahin muna natin. So we will be discussing yung bond, development length, hook, and splicing reinforcement. So but I will not cover this as thoroughly as I could, kasi may mga calculations required na may mga calculations being presented sa NSCP sa section na to that somehow may kinalaman sa RCD or sa reinforced concrete design. Kaya lang kasi hindi naman yun yung subject natin. We're only detailing. So yung mababaw na level lang yung i-discuss natin. Okay, so first is let me just define this, that the bar stresses must be transferred from to the concrete by bond between the steel and the concrete. Okay, take note of that one before the bars can be cut off. Okay, in this case, the bars must be extended some distance back into the support and out into the beam to anchor them, or develop strength. Class, take note that whenever we are doing calculation, not sure if you have RCD subject or kung makukuha nyo yun pag nag-continue kayo sa civil engineering. Okay, so yun. That the calculated bars normally pertains to the cross-section of this. Kaya lang, ang sinasabi dito, for that cross-section, yung nakita nyo kanina sa doon sa schedule, for that cross-section to somehow develop its strength or to maximize yung kanyang capacity, okay? Kailangan ma-transfer nung bakal na dinesign mo, tsaka nung cross-section mo na concrete. Okay, kailangan ma-transfer niya yung mga loadings na yon directly doon sa mga materials natin. So, kailangan nakabond siya together. Kailangan hindi siya basta-basta na ikinabit. As you can see dito sa drawing natin, ayan, kapag ganito lang yung pagkakalagay natin, parang hindi maayos yung pagkakakonect ng bakal doon sa column, what will happen there is that when the load is being applied, so possible na mag-failure to due shear or pwedeng matanggal yung buong beam. So magfe-fail yan. Okay, the beam will fail doon sa support. Hindi doon sa magiging deflection niya. Dito siya sa support matatanggal. So we don't want that to happen. Now, we need to introduce the development length. Okay? So it can define as the minimum length of embedment of bars that is necessary to permit them to be stressed, okay, to their yield point. So ang ibig sabihin nun is that kapag in-extend mo to, kakapit ngayon, in other words, kakapit yung beam doon sa column kung saan kapag nag-apply ka ng load, hindi matatanggal yung beam at mamamaximize mo yung strength ng ating beam, particularly yung bakal. So it will be pushed up until its yield point plus of course yun nga. So in a way, kung paano mo siya dinesign, mamamaximize mo kung ano talaga yung dinesign mo. So yun. So we need to incorporate these development lengths. Okay? So kasi kapag ka hindi, okay, normally ang mangyayari dyan, mapupull out yan. So either ang failure mo is magka-crack sa gitna yung column, may cross-sectional, isipin nyo top view, hinila yung bakal dito dahil hindi maayos yung development length or ano, pwedeng mabiyak yung column sa gitna. Okay? Or pwede naman na ganito yung maging failure mo. Ganyan. Parang pa-triangle. Ito similar dito. Pag pinull out mo to, ganito yung ano niyan. Yung halos kalalabasan niya. Okay? Or pwede mag-slide siya ng tuluyan na parang ganito. Okay yan. So, again, those are the things that we don't want to happen. Siyempre, kaya ka na nagde-design, kaya ka gumagawa ng detail para maayos yung pagkakakabit on-site. Okay, for the development bond, for the bond development length hooks and splicing. So, ito yung normaling mga makikita natin. So, ito, either nakabend ng 90, so we have the development length, or nakabend ng 180. Kapag pwede nating habaan to, binibend natin siya ng 90 lang. Kaya alam, may mga cases kasi na pagka hinabaan natin, hindi na pwede kasi nga at some cases pwede ma-expose na yung dulo ng bakal. Kailangan din kasi natin ng concrete cover. So later i-discuss natin yan. And then yun. So pwede tayong mag 180. Okay. And then on the other hand naman, we can also do this another development link depended doon sa ating mga steer ups or yung mga additional steel or bars inside. Hindi siya main bar ha. Ito kasi main bar. Ayan. So ito yung mga main bar. So yung mga steer ups similar with this one. Ayan. Okay. So we applied this and so on. So dun muna tayo sa definition of terms. Okay. So anchorage. So it is the way forces in reinforcing bars are safely transferred to surrounding concrete so that the bars can fully develop, allowing the rebar to reach its yield strength. So ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. So kailangan naka-embedded siya na maayos. So, ang proper term nun is anchorage. Kailangan naka-anchor siya yung bakal kung saan mo siya dapat naka-anchor. Doon sa example ko is sa column. Tapos, yung bakal should, um, yung bakal na naka-anchor sa column can safely transfer to its surrounding concrete yung kanyang yung forces and so on so that the bars that is anchored sa column can fully develop its yield strength. Kasi pagka hindi siya na-develop tapos na-fail, so hindi yung main bar yung problema is yung anchorage natin. Okay? There's strength without slipping or pulling out. So dapat hindi siya mag-slip or magpo-pull out. Similar with this one sa example na pinakita ko. Okay? So again, this is achieved through bond development length, hooks, and lap splicing. Now, for the development length, okay, minimum lengths or extension of reinforcement for peak stress in the reinforcement in order to fully develop the bars. Okay, so for tension and also for compression, kung ano man yung mako-compute natin, it should be less than it should be greater than or equal sa 300. Kapag na-compute nyo is less than 300 mm to. Teka, isin natin. That is mm. So you use 300 mm. So as I've said, di ba? May hook pa dyan. As I've said, I will not deal too much with the calculation with this one kasi hindi naman siya, I think hindi naman siya necessary sa subject natin. So more on the more on introduction with this one. Meron kasing calculation tayong ginagamit for us to determine its development length. Yung iba mahaba. Okay, pero yun, as long as it would not be less than 300. So, okay, pagka less than, so just use 300. Okay, so for the notation, so ito yung mga normal nating mapapansin. Sa may D, which is the distance from the extreme compression fiber to centroid of tension reinforcement, or normal yung DB is the normal bar diameter, okay, or yan yung size ng bar. FCI, which is the concrete strength of concrete at the time of the initial pre-stress yan, MPa. Then FY is the yield strength naman ng bakal. And then lastly, yung LD is the development length. Now, let's go with the hooks and bends. Ayan. So normally, ito yung tinitingnan natin dyan. Kung i-bend natin, ito yung sinusukat natin. So from the bar, pag nag-bend tayo, may radius tayo dyan. And then, magsisimula yung bend natin dito. Let's say, example ito is 12 dB. Example lang to ha, pero mamaya may mga criteria tayo. So, ito siya. Yung dB is the bar diameter. So, you just multiply kung if it is 8 dB, 12 dB, 4 dB. So, i-multiply mo na siya sa thickness sa bar diameter. Okay, this is for the 90 degree. Kapag ka 180 yung bend, ganyan. So, pag ganito naman ang sukat niya. After the radius, okay, or after yung parang semicircle dito. On the other hand, pagka ganito, this is a 135 bend. Normally, na-apply natin to sa mga beams or columns pagdating sa stirrups. Mag-drawing lang ako. Kasi, before, I think, ina-accept naman nila yung ganitong, yung iba kasi nakikipag-argue na, di, tama yan. Well, nasa engineer on record naman yun kung these are only recommendation. So, nasa sa kanila yun kung gagawin nila or di. For example, ito yung cross-section ng beam. So, meron tayong bakal dito. Okay? Yan. Meron tayong bakal. Through that. Tapos, meron tayong dito, at tawag dyan, stirrups. Okay? Ngayon, minsan yung stirrups, pagka inikot mo ng paganito, so ganito minsan nila inilalagay. So, diretso dito, gaganyan. Okay. Yan. Nakaganito. Naka 90 bend. Tapos pupuluputin lang nila dito ng alambre. Well, kung they are confident with that one, walang problema. Pero kasi, um, yung iba kasi, or the assessment on this one, kapag lumindol, there is a possibility, kahit na nakabuhos yan, etong alambre na pinampulupot dito, pwedeng maputol. So pag naputol yan, ang tendency, bubukas yan na nakaganon. Okay? So na-imagine nyo ba? Ganyan. So matatanggal. Okay? So pag natanggal yan, so possible na mag-fail yung beam or yung column kung saan man siya nakalagay. Okay? Now, um, with this one, if you, ito yung 90 na bend. Yung, um, yung bend naman natin na 135, actually, yun yung reason kaya ako kaya ako nagdo-drawings para ipakita kung paano ba ina-apply yung beam na 135 ay na bend na 135. Okay. So, sa bend na 135, nakaganito tayo. Ayan. Nakaganon. Ayan. So, ito yung sinusukat naman natin doon. Doon na parang bend. Okay? So, with this one, so somehow, hindi mo na kailangang i-alambre yan kasi naka-bend na yan dyan eh. So, yung risk of kumalas, so, medyo mababa. Maliban na lang kung mapuputol talaga yung bakal. Pero yon, yan yung orientation or that's one of the example on how or where we apply yung 135 na bend. Okay? Ayan. Eto, again, I think nakapagbigay na ako ng example. Kapag hindi kayang mag-extend, I think for example, ganito, maglalagay ka ng bakal, example lang, kunwari, sa footing. Okay, footing. Normally sa footing to eh. So, hindi kasi pwedeng diretso lang, tapos yung may top bar, bottom bar lang na ganyan. Kailangan nakabend siyang ganun. Kasi, pag naputol din yung mga alambre dyan, so, pwedeng compromise. So now, kapag kabinin mo kasi ng nakaganon, syempre lalabas na doon sa putik. So kaya, binibend natin. Okay, so example lang naman to. Okay, going back with this. Ayan. So for standard hooks, for the tension ng main bar, okay? Ayan. So ang length natin dito for the main bar, okay, it is, ano, it is, kapag 180 degree, ito, ayan. So ang length natin dyan is 4 dB. Okay? Kapag 90 degree ang bend, that is 12 dB. So for any sizes naman siya. Okay, ito is for ano to eh, for um, minimum bend ng diameter sa ano, sorry. Saan pa yan? Dito. Yan. So, um, that is for if you have, ayan, minimum sizes. So, pag hindi sa main bar. Okay, ito sa main bar kasi to eh. Kung hindi main bar yung paglalagyan mo. So, you have this provision wherein the diameter of the bed inside of the bar, ayan, other than for stirrups and ties in 16 mm shall not be less than the table. So, meron tayong table dito. Then, ganun din dito kapag um, if it shall not be less than 4 dB. So, for us to better understand this clause sa NECP, actually to galing, ito yung table niya. So, if the bar size is 10 mm hanggang 25, so it's 6 dB. If it's 28 mm, 32 and 36. Ito yung plus iyan yung yung commercial sizes. It's 8 dB. And then lastly, 42 and 58, that's 10 dB. So, ito rin yun. Yung nandito. Okay? Now, for the stirrups naman, ties and hoops. So, kapag 16 mm or smaller, tapos 90 degree yung bend, ganito. Okay, so that is 6 dB. Tama ba? Yan, 6 dB. Okay, at the free end of the bar. Then kapag ka 20 or 25 plus 90 degree, that is 12 dB. Ito siya. This is for 20 to 25 mm. Ito, pang 10 to 16. Yan yung mga commercial sizes. Kapag ka naman 135 degree, 25 smaller, so that is 6 dB. So baka magtaka kayo, sir, paano kapag ka paano kapag ka 28 yung size? Kasi di ba may 28 dito, ayan, or 32. So hindi naman tayo gumagamit ng ganong kalaking stirrups kasi malaki na yung 25 mm. Main bar na yon actually, yung other sizes ng bar. Okay. And then yun, we have this 190, 180 na 6 dB. I think this is also the same with the one kanina na ito. Ayan, dito. Okay? Same lang din yan. Same applies with with ties and hoops or stirrups. Okay, so for splices naman, ito, ginagawa naman natin yung splices kapag nagdudugtong tayo ng bakal. Kasi 'di ba, yung market size naman is hindi naman siya kung gaano kahaba yung structure. Okay? So normally, ang sizes lang natin is 6, tapos interval ng 1.5. Tama, 1.5, 7.59, 10.5, 12. Okay? So 'yon. Kapag not within that range yung yung pagkaka-bar bend mo. So kapag nag-require ka na ng bakal tapos bitin yung market size or yung kaya mong bilhin. So magi-splice ka or magdudugtong ka. Ngayon, the provision is dito dapat it should be located away from the maximum bending moment. Naalala nyo sa theory of structures na subject, di ba? You calculated for the maximum moment. Kailangan wala doon sa location na yon yung splice mo. Okay? Kasi kapag nandoon mo nilagay, yun yung medyo critical, baka kumalas diyan. Okay? Kasi pagka doon ka naglagay ng splice, hindi na siya question if kaya ba ng bakal or on kaya ba nung pinangtali mo sa kanilang dalawa or yung pinangdugtong mo sa kanilang dalawa na bakal. Kaya it is advisable it should be provided away from the maximum bending moment. So mamaya meron tayong criteria sa next slide na recommended locations. Pero again, you need to calculate that if that is not the location of the maximum bending moment. Okay. Okay, as much as possible, you need to make sure that it will be staggered. Yung location niya wherever it is possible, so magkakahiwalay para hindi siya tapat-tapat or dikit-dikit. Kasi kapag ginawa mo 'yon, so most likely baka yun yung maging cause ng failure dun sa locations na 'yon. Kaya hindi pinagtatapat-tapat yung mga splices, dapat ililipat mo sa kabilang location yung splice. Now, with this, so lap splices in tension are classified as class A or class B. The length of the lap splice is given as a multiple of tension development length LD. Okay. So it can be class A, okay, class A ang splice length mo kapag yung 1 times the computed development length is greater than or equal to 300. Now, it is class B naman yung klase ng lap splice mo if you multiply the computed development length sa 1.3 and it is less than or it is greater than rather or equal to 300. For the recommended splices for beams, so ito siya. Ito makikita nyo to sa mga plans nyo. So, it is recommended. Actually, may mga nakikita akong iba eh. Yung iba ang nakalagay dito, L/3, L/4, yan. So, ito, from the location of the support, okay, so it can be L/4 or L/3. Pag L/4, it's recommended it's at the end support or at the end column. Yung mga internal columns, okay, Kapag continuous siya tapos yung mga internal columns, L over 3 sa taas dito. Now, yun, on the other hand naman, yung distance nitong bakal na to is yun. It should be less than or equal sa 1.25 ln or yung span ng slab na yun or ng beam na yun. Okay, so yan. Makikita nyo naman to dun sa plan nyo for reference. Okay, and then ano-ano tong mga bakal ba na yan? So, this is the standard hook. Okay, and normally we added temperature and shrinkage reinforcement, which is typical. Ayan. Okay, so yun. When you are doing the plate, you just check na lang kung ano yung nakalagay sa inyo dito. Kung wala, kopyahin nyo na lang to kasi kailangan nyo nito. Okay, kasi I think merong mga plan sa inyo na walang typical details, kulang. Next natin is the bending reinforcement. Okay, so ito naman, wala naman masyadong kinalaman doon sa structural detailing na ginagawa niya, pero on how they bend it outside. Okay, so binebend natin ito, yung bakal, nang hindi mainit. Meaning, kunwari from the stockpile or doon sa laydown area natin, kukuha lang tayo, tsaka natin i-bend. Okay. So, if you're not going to bend that ng ganun yung scenario, so, it should be permitted by the engineer of record kung meron siyang other way. Kasi, I think, what's this clause is mentioning is kung paiinitan mo ba yung bakal para ma-bend ng maayos. Kasi, pwedeng maputol or pwedeng ma-compromise yung mechanical properties niya. Okay? And on the other hand naman, when the bar is naka-install na sa concrete or embedded na sa concrete, like for example, magtutuloy-tuloy kayo ng hollow, tapos ibe-bend mo yung bakal nang naka-install na. So it's a big no. Okay? Hindi dapat siya binebend, maliban na lang kung i-allow ka ng engineer of record. Okay? Kasi liability naman nila yon. Pero the reason why na hindi pwedeng i-bend ang bakal pag naka-install na, kasi pwedeng matanggal or masira siya sa pagkaka-embed sa concrete. Okay? Concrete cover. So pag-usapan natin yung concrete cover. Pag sinabi natin concrete cover, that is the distance of the face of the bar. Ito, yung pinakadulong face doon sa dulo ng concrete natin. Section. Okay. So sabi dito, kapag yung isang concrete na may bakal, simple ako na lang to is nakalubog sa lupa. Sabi dito, contact with ground. Nakalubog sa lupa. So it is pertaining to column na nakalubog at footing na nakalubog. Syempre, footing nakalubog talaga. Yun. It pertains to those parts of the structure na made out of concrete. Tapos may bakal sa loob. Dapat yung bakal natin from the face of the concrete should be 75 mm. So let's say, eto di ba, nag-drawing ako kanina. Dapat daw, ang distance nito ay 75. Tapos, kunwari ito, from the edge of the bar, ito dapat at least 75 mm yan. Okay, ayan. So, dapat ma-consider natin yung criteria. Ganon din dito, 75. Ganon din dito sa ibabaw. Dapat at least, okay, 75 mm. Pag exposed sa lupa, paano naman kapag exposed to weather, meaning nasa free space na, okay, like yung mga part ng mga beam sa second floor, nasa free space na, okay, pero hindi pala dito, ay sa pangatlo pala yon. So, exposed to weather or in contact with ground. So, ito naman, yung weather na naka-expose na, okay, ito naka-contact siya sa ground, pero hindi naman siya nakalubog. Ito kasi nakalubog permanently yan Okay, ito, 40 to 50. So, depende sa size ng bar or sa klase ng bar. On the other hand naman, pag not exposed to weather or in contact with ground, meaning yung mga beams na nakasuspend, okay, pero nasa loob ng structure. Ito, weather meaning mga exterior section natin, yung nauulanan, ganun. Okay? So, Depende sa klase ng member, if that's a slab, joist, beams or columns, and then depende sa size ng bakal, ito yung concrete cover. Again, ito yung sample natin kung ano yung location ng concrete cover natin. Okay? So yan, i-check nyo rin yan doon sa kinakad nyong plans. Okay? Kung ano, kung logical ba yung pagkakabigay nila ng ano to, ng cross section, tapos yung mga sizes, kung enough pa ba yung size, yung ano to, yung section itself. Okay, this is for rebar sa mga non-pre-stress. Pag sinabi natin cast in place non-pre-stress, ang cast in place meaning binubuhusan mo on site. Pag sinabi mong non-pre-stress, ibig sabihin rebar lang yan na inilalatag, yung conventional way. Now, we also have cast in place pero pre-stress. Sa pre-stress, hindi tayo gumagamit ng rebar. Ang ginagamit natin doon, tendons. Okay? Ito siya, tendons. Parang parang nakakita ako ng ano ng mga video. Mas matibay daw ang tendons. Kaya tendons daw ang sinuggest ni Foreman gamitin sa bahay na sa column ng bahay. So, for me, hindi dapat kung bahay lang. Kasi, una, mas mahal ang tendons. Pangalawa, hindi yan readily available sa hardware. O orderin mo yan eh. Wala ka namang mabibili masyadong tendon sa local hardware eh. 'Di ba? In-order yan. Pangalawa, yung rebar kasi, pag-apply mo, okay, ganito kasi yan. Kunwari meron kang beam. Sabihin mo na natin, cast in place, tapos non-pre-stress. So, may bakal ka. So, rebar yan. Kapag nag-apply ka ng load or nagpatong ka na ng mga gamit sa ibabaw, so magde-deflect yan. Okay, i-exage ko lang yung deflection. Pati yung bakal, ito yung deflection niya. So, ngayon, yung deflection niya, ang lumalaban dyan, yung rebar. Based doon sa bakal. Ngayon, ang tendon kasi isipin nyo para siyang alambre. Okay? Ngayon, kapag you will be using cast in place, tapos pre-stress, pag naglagay ka ng tendon, okay, hindi pwedeng ilalatag mo lang yung tendon, hihilahin mo yan. Okay, so ang purpose kasi niyan is that, sa mga pre-stress, dahil nga mas matibay siya sa mga rebar, okay, we make sure that, na pag hinila natin yung tendon, tapos pinatigas natin, at nirelease natin, so ito yon. At nirelease natin, ito yung mga, yung machine, yan. Hihilahin niya yung tendon on both sides. So parang nasa-subject na siya sa tension, di ba? Tapos pagka ni-release na yan ng matigas na siya, yung binuhos na concrete yan. So what will happen is that, based dito sa drawing natin, okay, magka-camber siya. I-exage ko lang din gaganyan siya. Okay? Tapos yung tendons mo, dahil nga, ni-release mo, binitawan mo yung tendon. So now, pag nag-apply ka ng loading, ang initial reaction niya, syempre, that's the time na tension doon sa tendons natin. So, mapa-flatten muna siya. Gaganon siya. Sorry. Yan. Dediretso muna siya. And then, kung mas madami pang load, edi tsaka siya magde-deflect. Pero just imagine, if you're not going to use tendons and then, kumbaga, let's say, ito 10 kilonewton, example lang para lang mas maintindihan. 10 kilonewton for sa rebar, magde-deflect siya ng ganito. Pagka tendons na pinay-stress mo, nag-apply ka ng 10 kilonewton, magpa-flat. Pag nag-apply ka ng another 10 kilonewton, so 20 na. Tsaka pala siya magsisimula mag-deflect based doon sa allowable deflection. So meaning, mas malaki yung nagiging capacity ngayon ng concrete structure mo with the pre-stress. So yun kasing konsepto talaga ng pre-stress in layman's term. Okay? So yun. With that, going back with this, so whenever we are using pre-stress for the concrete member, so ito naman yung kanyang concrete cover. So basically halos kapareho lang din neto nandito sa cast in place na non-pre-stress pero may konting changes lang. Okay? And then, yun. Eto kapag permanently in contact with ground, eto pag exposed to weather or in contact with ground. Okay, pero hindi permanently. And then eto naman exposed to weather or in contact with ground naman. So eto yung mga ano natin, mga concrete covers for that. Okay? Lastly, kung may cast in place pre-stress, meron din tayong precast. Precast meaning hindi ginawa on-site, ginawa off-site. Kasi dinedeliver. Katulad ng mga ginagawa sa mga LRT, ganyan, mga Skyway. So, hindi naman ginagawa yan on-site eh. Dinedeliver na lang siya. Kasi magkokos siya ng heavy traffic. So this table is for precast, non-pre-stressed, or precast concrete members manufactured under plant condition. So whether it is pre-stressed or non-pre-stressed, pero precast siya. Ito yung table niya. So hindi ko na siya i-discuss pa one at a time. So dito naman, ganun din naman yung concept niya. Hihilahin nung jack, ito yung steel tendon. Parang same lang din kapag pre-stressed na cast in place. So ayun, hihilahin tapos bibitawan. Ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo, magka-camber siya ng ganyan. Okay. Tapos pagka nag-apply ka ng load, tsaka siya tutuwid at the initial onset. Okay? Ayan. For the preparation of the surface condition ng reinforcement, una, kailangan, sabi dito sa 407.5.1, that the reinforcement shall be free from mud, oil, or other non-metallic coating that will decreases its bond sa concrete kapag ka nagbuhos. Okay? Pwede rin tayong maglagay ng epoxy coating of steel reinforcement, but in accordance with these two sections, it will be permitted. Okay. For the reinforcement naman, except tendons, pre-stressed tendons with the rust, okay, may kalawang, mill scale or a combination of both shall be considered satisfactory provided the minimum dimension, including height of the deformation and the weight of the hand wire brush test specimen will comply the applicable ASTM specification. So dito, ang sinasabi, yung kapag kinakalawang na yung bakal, kunwari, hindi mo tinuloy yung construction, tapos kinakalawang. Ngayon, as long as na it's ano pa din, pasok pa din doon sa sizes, tapos sa requirements ng ASTM, so pwede mo pa rin siyang gamitin. On the other hand naman, for the pre-stressing tendons, shall be cleaned and free from oil dirt. So same lang din dito sa itaas. So light coating of rust shall be permitted. Okay, for the placing, ito okay lang tayo in summary. Okay, it should be so it should be accurately placed. Okay, so dapat wala tayong deviation from doon sa from doon sa actual covers niya and so on. Pero it can be permitted unless otherwise allowed by the engineer on a record. So if we're going to have tolerance, okay, with the placing, ito. So, for the depth, okay, so the minimum concrete cover in flexural walls and compression members shall be as followed. So, yung effective depth natin na if it is less than or equal to 200, ito naman if it's less than or equal to 200, dapat kabila to. So, yun, may tolerance tayo na 10 to 12 mm and so on. Okay. Ayun. Now, I think that's it. More on this topic just discusses the the covers, splices para mas maintindihan natin paano ba natin ginagawa yung detailing. Kasi pag sinabi natin detailing, ang konsepto talaga niyan may kinalaman sa bakal, sa rebars. Okay? Or structural detailing rather. Okay? Any question? Wala. Sige, if you don't have any more question, let me just stop the record.